Shalawam, all praises Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and salutations to the Archeum out there doing its work in sincerity and truth. This is a video on the topic of who is the devil and why. You can identify who the devil is by going into history, prophecy, and also language. So without further ado, I'm going to start by reading the prophecy. Now, Daniel's the 7th chapter goes into the history of and the prophecy of the different empires that were ruling in the past. So you had from the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and the Roman Empire. We're going to start with reading the Greek Empire. So this is Daniel 7 and 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. The leopard is speaking of Alexander the so-called Great, alright? Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So those heads were his 4 generals that were close to him. They took the different provinces or places that he ruled over after his death. So let's go into from there to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and the Medes. So the key point there I wanted to highlight was that Alexander was a Macedonian. Now, the word there in the Latin Vulgate for Macedonian was Makados, alright? Now we're going to go into the language a bit more. So going from there, I'm going to jump to Esther the 16th and the 10th verse, alright? And that's also in the Apocrypha. So this is Esther 16 and 10. It says, for Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hammedatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distinct from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So Haman was a Macedonian. Now when you look at the word again, the word there for Macedonian was Makados in the Latin Vulgate. So from there, I want to go to the book of Esther, the 3rd chapter and the 1st verse. It says, after these things did King Ahasuerus, which is the Persian king, promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. So in this chapter, he's known as an Agagite, okay? But in the other chapter, it said he was a Macedonian. We're going to come to that. And advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So to get an understanding about who Haman was and what he came to do, you'd have to read the whole book of Esther to get the full understanding of the history behind this chapter, or the whole book, man. Alright, and what was going on at the time. But pretty much in this first verse it explains that King Ahasuerus, he had made a decree that all men should bow to this man named Haman, and the Jew named Mordecai said he refused to bow because he knew the law, and it was against the law to bow to false gods and the likeness of their images. And this vexed the man named Haman, alright, that what's called as the Agagite here. So we're going to look at the word Agagite. The word Agagite there is Bujin, and in various other chapters in Esther it says the word Bujin for the word Agagite, alright. Now you're going to come to a question in your head saying, why does it say Macedonian in one chapter and then Bujin in another? To answer that, you have to know a bit about the history. So what happened in the history was, in the reign of King Alexander, he made a library near the harbor of Egypt, Alexandria, okay, because he named it after himself. And he put one of his generals in charge of it, which was Ptolemy the First Soter. And later on, well, in that library they used to gather a lot of scrolls, you know, and keep records of things, and a lot of people went there for wisdom and so forth, man, and inspiration. All right. So later on, what happened was Julius Caesar was under attack. So what he did was he told his army to set the harbor alight, and what happened was the fire spread. So once the fire had spread, it had caught fire to the library, and the library had burnt down. But then later on, he had Ptolemy II, Philadelphus. He had re-established the library and continued collecting many scrolls and scribing things. So it was brought to Ptolemy's attention that the law of the Jews was worthy to be translated in the Greek. All right. So what Ptolemy did is he sent messengers to the high priest, which was Eleazar at the time, and Eleazar in return sent 72 priests to translate the law from the Hebrew into the Greek. All right. That's where you get the word Septuagint. Septuagint meaning 70. All right, because named after the 72, the 72 priests that Eleazar sent to translate the law into the Greek. Okay, so that's the history on it. That's why when you read Esther, the 9th chapter and the 24th verse, it says, and the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and the Salakia, verse 24, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, which he was a damn piece of doo-doo, had devised against the Jews to destroy them. All right, but the point I wanted to extrapolate was the word Agagite there is Macedon. All right, because they knew, the priests knew the history of the Edomites. Okay, they knew that the Macedonians went back to the Agagites, which the Agagites went back to Agag, and Agag went back to the Amalekites. So let's go from there to 1 Samuel the 15th chapter. Okay, some Greeks knew that they were Edomites and some didn't, man. Just like the Romans, some knew, some didn't. But the Lord always had chosen men which knew the history. And the priests knew that they were, the Macedonians were Edomites. All right? And so what you can take from that is that the word Macedonian is not synonymous with the word Berean, all right? Though some would have you believe that the word Berean means Macedonian. No, it don't. It's just that you had some people who knew, some people didn't, man. Anyway, moving on. So this is 1 Samuel 15 and 5. All right. Now this is going into Saul. Saul was commanded to slay utterly all the Amalekites, all right? But he didn't. He saved the king Agag instead of killing him along with the rest of them. All right, but I'm going to jump around a bit. This is verse 2. This is 1 Samuel 15 and 2. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. And you can read the history on that in Exodus the 17th chapter. So these heathens have always been these Amalekites, these Edomites have always been our enemy, going back to the Genesis, the 3rd chapter, where the Lord said he would put enmity between us and the so-called white man, all right? Because the Greeks were sort of a rulership or a nation of so-called white people, all right? Biblically known as Edomites, the descendants of the man named Esau spoken of in Genesis the 25th chapter. All right, now I'm going to jump forward Oh, verse 3, it says, "Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all they that have to spare." Salakia, utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, and camel and ass. So guess what? Saul feared the men rather than, he feared the people rather than fearing Yahweh. So Samuel cursed him out and told him what the Lord was going to do, which was render the kingdom to someone, rent the kingdom from him and give it to someone else more worthy. All right, which we knew that was going to be King David. Now I'm going to jump to verse 32. Then said Samuel, "Bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites." All right, the word there in the Hebrew is Agagya for the word Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately, and Agag said, "Surely the bitterness of death is past." Showing you this devil didn't feel, no way, he didn't feel guilty for everything that that he had done, or the Edomites as a whole had done to our people, man. And another scripture comes to mind. What's that? Zechariah 11th chapter. It says, "Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty." All right. And this devil never felt guilty for him to say that, man. And Samuel said, "As thy sword hath made woman childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women." And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. All right. So anyone who thinks that the men of the Lord, in the history, never put anyone to death, that the Lord loves everyone and don't hate, you've been confounded, man. Because the Lord hates, and He commanded His servants, such as Samuel, to hew a man to pieces. All right. So we've covered the main point, that the Macedonians go back to the Agagites. The Agagites go back to the man Agag, and Agag was an Amalekite from the nation of Amalek, the tribe of Amalek, and Amalek was one of the sons, the relatives of Edom. Okay. And we read that in Genesis the 36th chapter and the 8th verse. Alright, this is Genesis 36 verse 8. "Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir." Esau is Edom. Alright, Edom is southeast of the southern kingdom of Israel. "And these are the generations of Esau, the father of Edomites, in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz the son of Adar, the wife of Esau; Ruel the son of Bashamath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz," and here's the key point, she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. Alright? So that's proof who the devil is by history, language, and prophecy. Now from there, I want to go to round it off with Revelations 2 and 9. But before I do, just want to make the point that Haman and the rest of these Edomites, they always had an agenda to be the adversaries of the nation of Israel. Pertaining to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, where it speaks about the Most High putting enmity between our seed and their seed, man. They've always been our enemies with deep-seated hatred, going back to the Garden of Eden, that they were the serpent's seed. Alright? Even unto Cain, they've always been murdering us, man. Cain killed Abel. Alright? And then going into the curse of leprosy, which I can do a video on that at a later date, how the Lord put a mark on Cain, that people should find him and kill him. That was the mark of leprosy according to the Bible, which is what? having so-called white pigmentation and being a so-called white man. All right, that's how you know who you can identify who the devil is. Now, Haman always had an agenda to take down the dark races, especially the 12 tribes of Israel, the Israelites, okay? And he was unsuccessful, but the one who was successful as a part of prophecy was King Alexander, all right? Spoken of in the first Maccabees, first Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So these people always had a strong agenda to keep us down as a people. But the Lord's going to turn that on its head, and we're going to have them in derision. All these nations are the same people coming back again. Now, how do you know that? The Bible speaks of reincarnation in Ecclesiastes, the first chapter and the 9th verse. And it says, the thing that have been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new, and it hath been already of old time, which was before us. So those Amalekites are the same Edomites, same adversaries, the same devil that's come back and is ruling over us right now, man. These elites, the same people that created these abortion clinics to make the highest abortions in the world are by the so-called Negro woman, all right? Hispanics, Native Americans, man. To make the laws against us, to find it hard to keep our own laws, man. Put pork in everything. Those are the same people that was ruling over us way back then, man. Revelations 2 and 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Rich is talking about the elect that have this truth. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. The same people calling themselves Jewish today are the same people that are not the Jews. How do you know that? When you read Jeremiah 14 and 2, you'll understand that it says the real Jews were so-called Negroes, man, of dark skin, all right? And that cuts who the people are calling themselves Jewish today, because they're so-called white people, okay? Reading on, it says, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Synagogue means house, and Satan means adversary. So they're the chief house of the adversary, which are the Amalekites, man. These Edomites, these Amalekites are the chief house. And the same goes for these elites, these bankers, Rothschilds, and so forth. They're all Amalekites, man. And they're the enemies of Yahweh and Yahweh's people. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. All right. Now the key word there is the devil, because these Edomites ain't nothing but the devil that the Bible speaks of, and they want to cast us into prison. Why? Because pertaining to Jeremiah 28 and 8, it says that the prophets of old and new will prophesy against great countries and kingdoms of war. And by us prophesying, it is bringing his kingdom down and setting our kingdom up. And Esau don't want that. That's why he wants to throw us into jail. And some of us, all of us, he wants to put to death. But he's only going to be successful with a few for the record of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, according to the word. So, for the Lord's name's sake. Now I'm going to read on. It says that ye may try it, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Alright, so going from there, let's go back into First Maccabees, verse chapter 1 verse 7. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. And that's talking about his 4 generals, which were Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and whoever forgotten. Seleucus, Ptolemy, Cassander, and Lacenaeus. Okay. Reading on, it says, so did their sons after him many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So wherever the Bible also says Esau, these Edomites are the border of wickedness, man. So wherever they go, that's where wickedness is. Also, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes. Now Antiochus was a tyrant, alright? And you can read up more history about this devil and what he did to our people, man. So it's a key name to look up, Antiochus Epiphanes. Now I'm going to jump down to the 11th verse. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So that's what the mind of the 2/3, man, and 2/3 of the nation of Israel, and why they need to be put to death. Because their mentality is about staying in this society and also making it, alright? But they forget that this place is really for your destruction. It ain't for your profit or gain. So the Edomites, they set up laws contrary to our laws, which would make us sin, so that we would never establish ourselves as a nation of people. But the Lord, the one who's setting us up through Yahushai to rule again in the kingdom of heaven. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. And you know it's against the law to do after the ordinances of the heathen. The word says, go not into the way of the heathen, nor into the way of the Samaritans. Alright? And now I'm going to go from there to Revelations, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse. And I'm going to close it on that. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. All this time has been trying to pursue us, to take us down as a people, to kill us, but the Lord's going to end his rulership real soon. So that was a video on who is the devil and why, and I hope you've been edified. The next video will be on the same topic, the same title, but covering the Roman Empire. Hope you've been edified. I'm going to say shalom.